He had all these mistresses. There were at one time 7 mistresses living in the palace with him. He couldn't say no. Well, you know, occasionally they'd fall out of love, and he simply let them stay. You know, they had an apartment, and they went to court, and I remember Barbara Villiers. I don't think that she was connected with George. She was the oldest of the English mistresses, and she was there forever, a middle-aged woman of considerable years at the end. But she stayed on as well as the last comer. The most famous probably is Nell Gwynne, Nell to the public. She was 20 when Charles took her on. She was a very popular and successful comedian in Drury Lane, rather inelegant origins, but still in all, she was funny and witty and charming and giddy, and of course it's understandable how any man would fall in love with her. Her appointments were dazzling. And she was a recent comer at his court. And then, of course, there was the famous Louise de Carwall, a French aristocrat whom Charles had met when he was in France, and utterly besotted by her. She was small and willowy and had silvery blonde hair, and she had a slight limp and a lisp. And he was captivated, so she came to England, and he created her the Duchess of Portsmouth. Unfortunately, she was a born aristocrat, so she looked down on all Charles's other mistresses, especially Nell Gwynne. She was so haughty, a very arrogant woman, and out of Charles' sight, of course, all of this took place. And she was always referring to Nell as a little streetwalker. And Nell put up with this for the longest time. But after a year or so, when Nell caught on as to how things worked at court, she let the Duchess of Portsmouth have it. The Duchess would parade through the salon. They all visited all day. What else did they do? They walked around and talked and ate and so on. And as Louise left the room with her friends, there was laughter in the room. What was going on in there they didn't know about. So finally, she couldn't stand it. She went back and she looked in. Well, there was Nell Gwynne loping around the room, pretending to limp, you know, like Quasimodo, and lisping and drooling and carrying on and putting on a terrible charade of Louise de Carwall, the Duchess of Portsmouth. And of course, the court was hysterical with laughter. They all hated Louise. Well, after that, Louise left her alone.